Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, December the 26th. We're going to take a first look at the six-game slate, go through each position. I'll touch on the plays that I like most today at each position that stand out to me. Just taking a first look at the slate. I am recording this video on Wednesday night. It's still Christmas Day when I'm making this video. Hopefully you guys did have a really good Christmas. Hopefully if you played the NBA slate, you did have a profitable day. It was a decent day for me, at least as of now. As of the time I'm recording this video, I'm pulling out a little bit of profit today. We will have to see how that holds like after the Pelicans Nuggets game, which hasn't started yet. But yeah, hope you guys had a great day. I'm ready to get back to grinding out content, putting up content for you guys. I didn't have any content on Patreon for the Christmas Day slate. I was traveling a lot. I was just really busy with like family gatherings, but I'm back at my desk now, back home, ready to get back on this slate. We'll have content available on Patreon today. Have my article, my roster construction video, my updated core plays. Pretty much all the content that I provide Monday through Friday will resume today. And I will have NFL stuff going up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I will be posting stuff for the Week 17 NFL slate. So if you want to get access to all of my in-depth and updated content, you can check out my Patreon, link down below, patreon.com/DFS by Noah. So check that out. Drop a like on the video if you enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and click that notification bell if you have not yet, so that way you will get notified every time I upload. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, link down below, at DFS by Noah. Would appreciate it if you guys would give me a follow over on Twitter. But let's go ahead and take a look at point guard for today's six-game slate. Luka Doncic at the top, 11,800, listed as questionable heading into Thursday's game at home against the Spurs. He did get a full practice in on Tuesday, so it is possible that Luka does play today. He's 11-8 on Draftkings, so he's pretty expensive. It's his first game back from injury. It's an ankle injury, so there's a chance he is limited if he does play today. With his price being 11-8, I don't think he's going to be a top priority for me on today's slate, especially when we have a guy like Andre Drummond against the Wizards. I mean, Bradley Beal with all the usage he's getting right now for 9,900, I like a ton. So even if Luka plays today, don't really want to go there. Obviously, if he plays, though, that is going to cut into guys like Porzingis, who I would not have much interest in. All the other guys we've been targeting from Dallas, like Jalen Brunson, even like Tim Hardaway Jr., those guys would pretty much become unplayable if Luka is in today. So we'll have to wait and see there. Then you have someone like Spencer Dinwiddie for 8,700, who I'm okay with here against the Knicks, but definitely not like a core play for me. Really don't think I'm going to be paying up at point guard much today. I think the mid-range provides us with some really strong plays. De'Aaron Fox is someone that stands out to me on DraftKings. I definitely like him at 7K. He did get the start just the last few games he has started. I think he started that game against Memphis, and then obviously he started last game against Houston. They also moved Marvin Bagley back into the starting lineup, so you're getting Fox and Bagley both now starting. And we saw Fox play big minutes last game against Houston. 36 minutes, had 52 DraftKings points. Really good matchup today at home against the Timberwolves, a team that does play fast. This season, the Timberwolves are top 4 in pace, so this is a really good pace-up spot for the Kings. Fox at 7K, like this guy, he's just too cheap. Like he should be an 8K player when he's healthy and playing 34, 36 minutes. He's going to get you 40 to 45 DraftKings points most nights when he's fully healthy and when he's playing his full minutes. So at 7K, I do have a ton of interest in him. He's probably my favorite mid-range play to go to at point guard if I am going to go to that price range. In the 6K range, there really isn't much I like. Like Derrick Rose is fine coming off the bench against the Wizards, but with Blake Griffin playing and Drummond playing, like I just don't know if I really want to go to Rose. He's probably going to get like anywhere from 26 to 28 minutes. They don't play Derrick Rose for big minutes. Like he's not going to play 32, 34 minutes. That's just not what they're going to do, or that's not what Dwayne Casey's going to do. He's going to limit him to about 26 to 28 minutes, which definitely hurts his upside. Plus his price is up to 6,400. So really the only reason I have any interest in Rose today is just because of the matchup, how good that matchup is versus the Wizards. Ish Smith I still think is in play, even up to 6,100. We saw him lose some minutes last game. I don't know why he only played 25 minutes, but only played 25 minutes last game against the Knicks. 30 DraftKings points. The Wizards did sign Gary Payton, who played a ton of minutes in his first game as a Wizard. But even in that game, he was playing some alongside Ish Smith, so it wasn't like Payton was taking minutes away from Smith. Like they were still playing Payton and Smith alongside each other. I'd expect Smith probably gets back to his like 30 to 32 minutes. Isaiah Thomas will be suspended for this game, and then he'll return for their next game. So still like Ish Smith today. I think he's like $18 on Yahoo. Definitely have interest in him over there. I think RJ Barrett's still a little bit too cheap at 6K. You can definitely look to him at that salary in this matchup against Brooklyn. We're seeing these Knicks starters just play big minutes in competitive games. Like RJ Barrett got 36 minutes last game, 32 DraftKings points. Pace up spot against Brooklyn. Brooklyn a top 10 team in pace this season. The Knicks are just sort of middle of the pack. They're actually towards the bottom. They're actually 26th. I thought the Knicks were more of a middle of the pack team in pace, but they're actually 26th in pace this season. So definitely a pace up spot for the Knicks here. I do like, this is another slate where I do have quite a bit of interest in a couple of Knicks, which never feels great, but it worked out last slate. I think it probably works out again today, just given the matchup and their pricing. Barrett's definitely one of the Knicks I do have interest in on today's slate. But then you have Gary Payton, who's up to 5,800 on DraftKings. I want to talk about him though over on Yahoo. At his DraftKings salary of 5,800, like he's not going to be a core play for me. He did play 34 minutes in his first game as a Wizard. The Wizards signed him on Monday, and he played in their, I believe that was a Tuesday game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was actually a Monday game. So they signed Payton on Monday, and he wound up playing 34 minutes in his first game as a Wizard on the same day. Had 10 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and 6 steals, 44 DraftKings points from Gary Payton. Like, I don't expect him to put up 44 DK points again, but I think he probably gets 26 to 28 minutes. I don't think he's going to get 34 minutes again. I think we're going to see Ish Smith take a few of those minutes away from Payton most nights. But with how thin the Wizards are right now, just with how thin they are as a roster, how few guys they have healthy, I really like Payton on Yahoo, where he's just minimum salary. Like, he's just really hard to get away from. I imagine he's going to be one of the more popular plays on Yahoo today, but it makes a ton of sense. Like, even if he gets 25 minutes and scores 25 fantasy points, that's still really good value at $10. He's not hurting you at all at that salary. On DraftKings, though, at like 5,800, I want him to get probably 40 DraftKings points, if not more. If I'm going to roster him in tournaments, I want that kind of upside. Whereas on Yahoo, like, you can still have a tournament-winning lineup with Payton in it, even if Payton scores like 25, just given how cheap he is. I believe he averaged like 1.37 fantasy points per minute in that game. I don't expect him to average I don't expect his fantasy point per minute average to be that high rest of season with the Wizards, especially when he's playing like alongside Bradley Beal. But with just how injury depleted the Wizards are right now, with how thin they are as a roster, like these dudes are being forced to play big minutes. Gary Payton literally got picked up on Monday and played 34 minutes in his first game as a Wizard because they have nobody else to go to. They have to give him minutes. So $10 on Yahoo, he's one of the better values just as of now. DraftKings, I can probably look elsewhere at 5,800. You don't need to lock him in at that salary. Elfrid Payton, though, is a guy that I probably will be locking in today. 5,300 on DraftKings. This is just too cheap of a price tag for Elfrid Payton. He has started the last 2 games for the Knicks, played 27 and 30 minutes, put up 34 and 35 DraftKings points. He's been a very productive player this season with the Knicks, been over a fantasy point per minute player. I can pull up his rates just so far this season. We can take a look at him. Starting, coming off the bench really hasn't mattered for him. This season in 320 minutes, Elfrid Payton averaged 1.09 fantasy points per minute with a 34% assist percentage. Been a very productive player when given the minutes, and now that he's starting, I feel safe that he plays probably 30 minutes a night, if not more. I think he can play more minutes, especially if he's playing really well. And Payton's just one of those guys that can contribute in all categories. He's not scoring dependent at all. Like, he only scored 5 points in this game, only made 2 baskets, but he still put up 35 DraftKings points because he got 7 rebounds and 12 assists. He can really contribute in all categories, can contribute with the peripherals. Nice pace-up matchup against Brooklyn. I believe Brooklyn has really struggled to defend point guards this season as well. Elfrid Payton looks like one of the top plays on DraftKings today at 5,300, just points per dollar-wise. Even on Yahoo, where he's $20, I still really like him over there. He will definitely be one of my more owned point guards on today's slate. Like, I love to play Elfrid Payton when he's getting like the start because I just feel better about him playing more minutes. Like, I don't think I've played him at all this season just because he's been coming off the bench and his minutes are so hard to predict when he's coming off the bench. But with him in the starting lineup, it seems likely that they trust him as the starter. They want to give him the minutes now that he is starting. They want to play him over Ntilikina. So I'm riding with Elfrid Payton again today. Really like him on this slate. I imagine he'll be popular, but I mean, for good reason. He's a very good play today. But then under 5K, if we're looking for value at point guard, there really isn't much value that I like here under 5K. Or there is one value play I want to talk about. We will need to watch the status of his injury. Assuming he plays, I think Shabazz Napier is going to be one of the top value plays on today's slate. 3,300 on DraftKings. He is really hard to get away from at this salary. So he did miss their last game on, I believe it was Monday against the Warriors. I was very interested in him on that slate. Once we got the news he was questionable, and with that being a 10:30 game, I did lower my exposure to him. And then at like 9 o'clock, once we got news that he was ruled out, obviously I took him out of all my lineups. If we don't get any word like after shoot around on Napier's status, whether he's in or out, like if he just stays questionable, he's going to be very low owned going into this game if he plays. Like if we get the news at like 9:30 tonight that Shabazz Napier is going to play, he's going to be probably 5-10% owned at the max, I would say, just because people aren't going to roster Napier in a late night game if he is questionable. But just in the games that he's been healthy, the last 2 games, he has started both. Jarrett Culver moved to the bench, and they decided to start Shabazz Napier over Jarrett Culver. They moved Wiggins back to shooting guard, and they started Napier at point guard. Napier's played 20 and 30 minutes in those 2 games, had 18 and 35 Draftkings points. He has been a very productive player this season when given the minutes. He's been over a fantasy point per minute player. 3,300 for a guy that's probably going to play 28 to 30 minutes as a starting point guard. Obviously, this is if he plays in a pretty decent matchup against the Kings. I know the Kings are not playing as fast this season as previous seasons. Like they're 29th in pace. This was actually a team that played really fast just the last few seasons. I mean, I expect with De'Aaron Fox getting healthy, like we're going to see the Kings start to pick up the pace a little bit. I just think Napier is way too cheap on DK today. On Yahoo, like you don't need to play him. He's $11. I think he is still a very good value play at point guard. But the fact that you have Gary Payton for minimum salary for $1 less, plus it is a 10 o'clock game, one of the last games on the slate, so we might not know. Like if we get news at like 8:30 and you really only have 2 games to swap like 2, I guess you'll have that Minnesota-Sacramento game and then that Portland-Utah game. Like if we get the news Napier's out at like 9:30, it's going to be tough to figure out who to swap to. Like I guess you could maybe throw in like a Koji or somebody. I don't even know if there's any cheap guards in those late night games that I would want to play. I can check real quick though. Like McLaughlin, maybe you could go to. Like he played 22 minutes last game with Napier out, 36 fantasy points. Like maybe you could just throw him in there in the scenario that Napier's out. You could just replace him with McLaughlin. But I mean, I wouldn't want to do that. Like I would want Napier to play if I'm putting him into my lineups. So I feel much safer going with Payton, given that we know he's going to play. Plus he's cheaper than Napier. But on DraftKings, where Napier is near minimum salary, like just lock that in. If he's out, we can make some pivots. But as of now, Napier looks like a great value on DraftKings, assuming he plays and assuming he remains in the starting lineup. Let's go ahead and move over to shooting guard, talk about this position. So at shooting guard at the top, I do really like Bradley Beal here, 9,900 on DraftKings. He's really hard for me to get away from on today's slate. Like his usage just is absolutely through the roof right now. He's $48 on Yahoo, and I think he's the top shooting guard over there. One of my favorite studs to go to on DraftKings as well. So we can look at his usage just so far. The last few games with all these guys off the floor. Isaiah Thomas, we know he's going to be out, so we can take him off the floor. Jordan McRae is actually questionable, so we'll leave him on. I mean, that's not going to make too much of a difference. If McRae plays today, I imagine that just takes minutes away from someone like Troy Brown. Maybe Gary Payton loses a few more minutes. Maybe somebody gets kicked out of the rotation. We'll just kind of have to see there. We'll have to wait on McRae, but we know Thomas Bryant's going to be out. We know Davis Bertans is going to be out. We know Rui Hachimura is going to be out, and we know Wagner is going to be out as well. So that's still 5 guys that are going to be out today for the Wizards. We can run the numbers just this season with all those guys off the floor. Not much of a sample size, but in 55 minutes this season with all 5 of those guys off the floor, Bradley Beal has a 42.9% usage rate, so nearly a 43% usage rate, which is like higher than Giannis. Like Giannis's usage rate this season is like close to 40%, but not over 40. 1.33 fantasy points per minute. Like it's just so hard to get away from Bradley Beal. Like with his volume right now, I think he took like 38 shots in that last game. He took 38 field goal attempts in that game. He shot 34% from the field and 18% from 3, and he still had 47 DraftKings points. Like imagine if Bradley Beal even makes 50% of his shots and maybe 30% of his three-pointers. Like he's going to put up a 60-burger easily with all this shot volume that he's getting right now. Plus you factor in that he's playing 38, nearly 40 minutes a game. It's a really good matchup against the Pistons. Like the Pistons are not a good defensive team. I know they're like bottom 10 in defensive rating this season. They rank 21st in defensive rating, so I like the matchup. I think this game can stay close. Right now, 231 total with a 6-point spread. Definitely like going to Bradley Beal again. He's going to be one of my top studs on today's slate. Probably just going to be one of my highest owned players overall, especially if Napier winds up playing and we get Napier as a value. That's going to make it pretty easy to pay up for a guy like Bradley Beal, who I do have a ton of interest in. But now other shooting guards we could look to, like in this mid-range, not a ton that I love here. Maybe like Wiggins you could go to if Cat's out. Like you could maybe go to him. Cat's questionable as of now. Maybe if Napier's out, you could go to him as well. Like he'll pick up some more usage. We know Wiggins is going to play big minutes. So maybe someone you could go to. But honestly, I feel like if I'm paying up a shooting guard today, I'm just going to go all the way to the top to Bradley Beal. My favorite play in this mid-range is definitely DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan. I think his price just really stands out on DraftKings. $6,500 for DeRozan is just incredibly too cheap. I mean, I know DeRozan hasn't been like the elite fantasy player we've known him to be in past seasons. He still averaged though, or on the season, he still averaged 36 DraftKings points per game. He's only 6,500. Like his usage rate is still pretty high for this for the Spurs team. I'm pretty sure he's still like second or third on the team in usage. I know he's averaging like maybe 1.1 or 1.15 fantasy points per minute. This is still a guy that has a ton of upside. I mean, he put up 51 DraftKings points in his last game against Memphis in only 29 minutes. Like, it's so likely he pays off this salary, even in a matchup against Dallas, who is a really good defensive team, especially when Luka's healthy. I just can't, like, avoid DeRozan at that salary. Like, he's going to be in my player pool because of how cheap he is. I don't know if he's going to be a core play for me. Depends on how, like, roster construction shakes out and if we get some value. Like, if I'm forced to build, like, a lot of mid-range or go to the mid-range today, I feel like I'll get a lot of DeRozan. If we get some value, then I might go like stars and scrubs, try and pay up for Beal, maybe try and pay up for someone like Andre Drummond, which kind of have to wait and see there. But regardless, I think DeRozan is probably the best mid-range play. At shooting guard, you can also play him at small forward. Troy Brown had his best game of the season last game, played pretty big minutes, 32 minutes, 52 DraftKings points. His price got bumped up to $6,200 on DraftKings. So with the price bump, I don't think Troy Brown's going to be like a core play for me today. I think he is still pretty cheap on Yahoo at small forward. He's $18, so yeah, he would definitely be one of my favorite small forwards to go to, especially when you just look at the position. You got DeRozan at 30, maybe Marcus Morris at 19. We'll have to see if he plays. Troy Brown at 18, then there's like not much else. So a lot of my small forward ownership on Yahoo today is definitely going to go to DeRozan at 30 and Troy Brown at 18. DraftKings, though, with all the flexibility, the position flexibility, plus with his price up to over 62 or up over 6K, I don't think he's going to be like a top play for me at that salary. Plus, if Jordan McRae is back and with Payton playing big minutes right now, or Gary Payton playing big minutes, like that could potentially take away some minutes from Troy Brown. But in the mid-range at shooting guard, really isn't much that stands out here. Just looking at this slate the night before, like Bogdanovic is really cheap, but he's just been so inconsistent. His minutes have been up and down. Or not as of late, his minutes have actually been pretty stable. 29 minutes in 4 straight games. But the production's definitely been up and down. Like, he's got over 30 DraftKings points just twice in his last 10 games. Like, it's really hard to trust him, especially given that game's a 10 o'clock game and we might not get this news before lock. Obviously, if he's ruled out, that's going to cause like a lot of problems with your lineup, given that it's a late night game. You won't have many guys to swap to in the case Bogdanovic is out. So really don't see myself going there. Probably won't be on him. That's really all I'm liking at shooting guard. I think this position, I'm going to be really keying in on Shabazz Napier, Bradley Beal, RJ Barrett I mentioned, DeMar DeRozan I like a lot at his salary. Those are the shooting guards I have the most interest in. So moving over to small forward, really not much that stands out as small forward besides the guys that I've already talked about. Like you can play DeRozan here. If you want to go to Troy Brown, you can play him as well, but I would prefer DeRozan for a little bit more. I think Carmelo Anthony does feel a little bit too cheap, $5,800. Like, this is still a guy that's playing 36, 37 minutes a night. I mean, he played 37 minutes last game against the Pelicans. He's been a very productive player this season. He's actually been really good for fantasy since joining the Trailblazers, especially as of late. He's been knocking down his shots. He's playing big minutes. His usage rate is pretty high with this team. We know Portland plays fast, so there's going to be a lot of shot opportunities, a lot of shot attempts for Carmelo. 5,800, definitely have some interest in him. If you want to go to someone like Robert Covington, I think that's fine, especially if Karl-Anthony Towns is out. Covington's been a big beneficiary this season with Towns off the floor. Very concerning. He only played 12 minutes last game. I'm not sure if he got injured in that game or what happened, but that's pretty concerning. I mean, assuming Covington's healthy and playing his full minutes, especially if Towns is out, like I would have quite a bit of interest in him at 5,100. Under 5K, though, if you're going for value at small forward, we got to watch Marcus Morris's status. If Marcus Morris is out, we saw Kevin Knox draw the start. He didn't have that great of a game. He only put up 14 Draftkings points. He did play 27 minutes, though. I'd assume Knox, if he starts again, I mean, he's going to play 28 to 30 minutes. Against the Nets, you could definitely target him as a value at the position. But yeah, that's probably it for small forward. Like, Admiral Schofield started at the 4 last game for the Wizards, but only played 18 minutes. Like, he's going to be really hard to trust. Plus, he's not a productive player either. So I don't really see myself going to him. So let's go ahead and move over to the power forward position. So at the top of the power forward position, Kristaps Porzingis, like, my interest in him just all depends on if Luka is in or out. If Luka plays, I have no interest in Porzingis. If Luka is out, I think Porzingis is a great pay-up option, especially where his price is a little bit down on DraftKings, $8,300. Does feel a little bit too cheap for Porzingis. $41 on Yahoo. Like, you can probably look elsewhere. There's probably other studs I would rather go to. LaMarcus Aldridge, he's coming off a monster game last game against the Grizzlies. 65 DraftKings points in 32 minutes. He had 40 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks. Just a monster game from Aldridge. Price really didn't move. He's still $7,400 today. With power forward and center eligibility, I think he's firmly in play in this mid-range at power forward. Definitely not going to be like my favorite play, though. I do prefer Julius Randle, who we'll talk about. I think Aldridge is a really good center play on Yahoo. If you want to play him at center, he's $30. Definitely stands out as one of the better options to go to there. But I love Julius Randle today. I was all over him on the last slate on both sites, DraftKings and Yahoo. I'm going to be going back to him on both sites today. $29 on Yahoo and $6,800 on DK. So in that last game against the Wizards, I thought that was a smash spot for Julius Randle, and he put up a monster game. 50 DraftKings points in 37 minutes. Had 35 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and 2 steals. Was just an overall very productive game from Randle. I mean, we've seen this season in games where he's like playing his full minutes when he's healthy. This guy can play 34, 36 minutes if games can stay close. Right now, this game, I don't think it has a line yet, or it actually does have a line. Brooklyn favored by 7 with a 221 total. So we'll have to wait and see, like, the status of, or Marcus Morris, we're going to talk about. The status of Marcus Morris will impact Randle a little bit. Like, Randle does see a little bump in usage with Marcus Morris out. But even if Morris plays, I mean, Randle still leads this team in usage this season. I know he has. He's been over a fantasy point per minute player. He's been much more productive as of late. He's been better for fantasy. We're seeing his minutes be there as well. As long as this game stays close, which I think it can, we're going to get big minutes from Julius Randle against a Brooklyn team that we know struggles to defend bigs. Guys like Julius Randle can have a lot of success against Brooklyn. So I love him on today's slate. Going to be going right back to him. One of my favorite plays overall. Carmelo, though, you can play at power forward, who I talked about. I like him. Rashawn Holmes, I definitely have interest in, especially since we saw Marvin Bagley start at power forward. Like, you're going to see Bagley and Holmes play alongside each other now, which definitely helps both guys. Holmes isn't going to lose minutes now to Bagley. Like, it's not like they're splitting the center minutes. They're actually playing alongside each other. And we saw Holmes get back to over 30 minutes last game. 31 minutes against Houston. 37 DraftKings points. I mean, this is a guy that's just very productive when he's on the floor. He can give you a fantasy point per minute, pace up spot against the Timberwolves, especially if they don't have Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, this could be a really good matchup for Rashawn Holmes. He's got power forward and center eligibility on DraftKings. So really like him in that mid-range as well. Very strong play that you could go to. Marvin Bagley, now that he's starting, I expect his minutes to be there most nights. $5,300. His price is really low. You can definitely target him on today's slate. I think he's a very strong option at power forward. For value, though, at the position, really the only value play I'll probably be looking to is Kevin Knox if Marcus Morris is out. Even with Taj Gibson out last game, Bobby Portis still only played 23 minutes. Like, I would love to play Portis if we know he could get minutes, but I think Gibson's expected to play today, so Portis is probably just going to play his normal 18 to 20 minutes off the bench, which is what he normally plays most nights. I mean, the dude has crazy upside, but hard to consider him much of like a great play. I mean, he's just a kind of a GPP low-owned guy to use. Really just a dart throw at best that I would just sprinkle in if I was playing a ton of lineups. Kevin Knox, though, obviously I mentioned you can play him at power forward if Marcus Morris is out today and he starts again. But let's go ahead and run through center real quick just before we end the video. So at the center position, you got Karl-Anthony Towns at the top for $10,500. We'll need to wait and see here. If Karl-Anthony Towns does play, I like this matchup a lot for him against the Kings. I think he can have a lot of success in this matchup. The Kings have normally been a team that struggled to defend bigs. Rashawn Holmes, though, this season has been much better, like defensively. They've actually been pretty solid against bigs. So it's not like an elite matchup for Towns, but I mean, he's pretty much matchup proof. He's going to come in very low owned on today's slate, especially because Drummond's in such a good spot. And also with Towns being questionable, heading into a late night game, like nobody's going to roster him. So I do have interest in Towns and GPPs if he plays. But in terms of like an optimal cash play, I mean, Drummond looks like the best pay-up option at center in that regard. I mean, 10K in this spot against the Wizards, like with how thin this Wizards team is right now, with how thin their front court is, like Drummond could just dominate in this game. Like if we look at this season in terms of rebound percentage, the Wizards are dead last in rebound percentage this season. Defensive rebound percentage, they are, I believe they're 27th. Yeah, they're 27th in defensive rebound percentage. They are 22nd in offensive rebound percentage. Like they've just been terrible on the glass. And we know Andre Drummond, where he does his damage is on the glass. Even with Blake Griffin healthy, like Drummond is still the like go-to guy on this Pistons team. Still is going to give you big games, 50-plus DraftKings points most nights, if not every night. I mean, his floor is still there. The ceiling is still there, even with Blake healthy, especially in this matchup. I mean, the ceiling's definitely there in this matchup. He put up 58 DraftKings points earlier this season against the Wizards in 38 minutes, had 24 rebounds in that game. And I believe that was a game where, like, Bryant was healthy, Wagner was healthy. With those guys out, like, this team is going to really struggle to defend Drummond. Like, he should absolutely have his way in this spot. You could definitely include him into the core, but if you plug him in, that only leaves you $4,900 remaining per player. So I did want to leave you guys with a decent amount of salary left. But I'll definitely try and work Drummond into my lineups today. If I can get him with Bradley Beal and just kind of have like that combo stack, I would really like that for GPPs. But other centers we could look to, I mean, it's not the best matchup for Whiteside, but like $7,700 for Whiteside is just still too cheap on DraftKings. Like this guy, I mean, he's been a monster this season, and especially as of late, they're giving him 32 to 34 minutes a night. He put up 44 DraftKings points last game against the Pelicans, and that felt like a floor game for Whiteside. I mean, his floor lately has pretty much been like 40 DraftKings points. I love him on DK again at 7,700. Like, he really stands out even in the tough matchup. And one of the reasons I didn't include Drummond in at 10K was because Whiteside's $2,300 cheaper. And Whiteside, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Whiteside outscores Drummond. Like, they're going to need Whiteside's size to defend Rudy Gobert. They're going to need a big guy out there against Gobert. I mean, I expect 34 to 36 minutes of Whiteside. I think he's been like a 1.3 fantasy point per minute player this season. I can check that real quick. I know his total rebound percentage is like through the roof. 23.8 total rebound percentage, averaging nearly 1.4 fantasy points per minute. So, like 34 minutes of Whiteside, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. Like, he probably projects for 50 DraftKings points. I don't know why DraftKings doesn't adjust his price. Like, he should be close to 9K, if not more. Like, the fact that Rudy Gobert is $1,200 more than Whiteside just really baffles me. It's a better matchup for Gobert, but, I mean, these guys pretty much produce at the same rate. Honestly, Whiteside probably produces at a better rate than Gobert does. Like, give me Whiteside all day. Love him in the spot, and I love this price. Or I don't love the spot, I guess, but I love that his price is so low on DK. But then other centers you could look to, definitely have interest in Jonas Valanciunas. His minutes have been much more consistent recently. Just the last 4 games, he's played at least 25 minutes in 4 straight games. 41, 40, 43, and 38 DraftKings points. The production has been very consistent as well. He's still cheap on DraftKings at only $6,100. He just faced this OKC team and put up 40 DraftKings points in 26 minutes against them. I definitely like Valanciunas today. Usually a guy that's burned me this season. Like, he's really burned me this season, but I'm fine going back to him at that salary. It will be interesting to see, with Taj Gibson healthy today, do they start Taj Gibson or do they just keep rolling Mitchell Robinson out there? Like, Robinson started last game with Taj Gibson out. Like, I don't know why they don't start Mitchell Robinson. Like, they should just start him every night and give him 30-plus minutes. He's a young guy. He's their guy that they should be trying to develop. And even though he only played 23 minutes, though he started last game against the Wizards, he was still productive, putting up 34 DraftKings points in 23 minutes. This guy's a very productive player. It's a smash spot against Brooklyn. We know how bad this Brooklyn team is at defending bigs, how bad they've struggled just in the past. So I really like Mitchell Robinson today, especially if he starts. He would be a top play for me at the center position. But there is a value play I want to talk about here. So Ian Mahimi's up to $4,800 on DraftKings. I don't think you have to play him at that salary. Like, I don't think he's a top value play by any means. But he is getting pretty solid minutes recently. He did play 28 minutes last game against the Knicks, 26 DraftKings points. Like, they're going to have to give Mahimi probably 26, 28 minutes again, if not more. When you're facing Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin, these big guys, like, you're going to need a big body out there to defend them, especially Drummond. Like, they're going to need Mahimi to defend Drummond. I'd imagine he plays as many minutes as he can handle pretty much until he fouls out. $4,800 on DraftKings, like, he could still pay off that salary even if he only plays 26, 28 minutes. But on Yahoo, Ian Mahimi's only $10 at center. He's actually minimum salary. Like, even if he plays 24 minutes and gets 25 fantasy points, like, that's still really good value at $10. And if he somehow plays 32 minutes and gets you like 34, 35 fantasy points, like, I know Mahimi's been close to a fantasy point per minute player this season. $10 on Yahoo, lock that in. I think he's one of the best center value plays, if not the best center value play overall. There really isn't much to like at center if you're going cheap today. So Mahimi is definitely my favorite option under 5K. But I think that's really it for center, guys. I think we pretty much covered the position, talked about all that I like there. And I think that's pretty much it for the video. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. As always, you can click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. You can also follow me on Twitter, link down below, at DFS by Noah. Feel free to give me a follow over there. Also, my Patreon is linked down below, patreon.com/DFS by Noah. If you want to get access to all of my exclusive and updated NFL and NBA content, you can check out my Patreon, see all that I have to offer over there. If you do become a member, you'll get access to my articles, private videos. For NFL, I do a cash game player pool. I do an ownership show. I do a roster construction video for NBA and NFL. I post NBA content Monday through Friday, and I post NFL content on the weekends. Just a ton of stuff's going up on Patreon. I do upload to YouTube pretty much every day, but a lot of the work I put in throughout the day is going to the Patreon. So check out all that I have to offer over there. I would definitely appreciate it if you would consider joining, seeing what I have to offer. But good luck on this slate, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you guys had a great Christmas, and good luck tonight. Peace.